Portugal got dinner, August. Welcome to Cora. That's our Irish dance podcast. So today I am delighted to welcome three very, very talented guests. We have three world champions. We have Orla Godley from Chicago. We have Conn Power from Dublin, and we have Patrick Grant from Toronto. So Orla, welcome. But I hear your roots are in Munster. Is that right? You have Irish family. You do.
Yes.
Where are they?
They live in Kerry.
So welcome. What years did you win the world? How old were you? Just give us a little bit of background on your career.
I won Worlds in 2014, 2018, and then 2022. So I was 14, 18, and then 22 years old when I won.
That's a long career. Congratulations.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Con, you're from Oncogal.
I would have won my first. It was All Ireland International back in the day when I started. I'm old, it was actually over 9 and under 11. So I won my first when I was 9. I would have turned 10 in the May. I think the All Irelands would have been probably the March or April time. And then yeah, I fortunately and unfortunately won every year after that until I retired
Every
in
year.
70. Yeah, so it was 2005 to 2017. And then I bowed out, thankfully. It was a lot of fun over the years.
Congratulations. And Patrick, how are you? Welcome.
Very good.
So, and what about your career? You dance
Uh,
obviously.
yeah, I mean, so I won the Worlds in Belfast in 2022. That would have been 10 years after I did my first Worlds in 2012 in Belfast as well. So that was a bit of a full circle thing. And so, yeah, I didn't win it every year like somebody else in the call, but I think, you know, everybody's experiences as individuals is just, I guess, what we're here to share and talk about today. So I'm excited to get to talk to you guys about my experiences and hear about others as well.
Absolutely. So welcome. So Kim, do you want to kick us off? And of course, Glenn is here also. Hi, Glenn.
I would just like to know and I know this is the question that everybody would like to know, what does it feel like to stand on that box and hoist that cup? What does that moment feel like for you? Con, what did it feel like for you, maybe the first time and the last time, and was there a difference?
Yeah, I mean, interesting. The first time, I think, as I said, I was 9. So, like, I don't think any of us, my family, teachers, I don't think there was expectation. I was running around the place. I was playing my Game Boy. That's again showing my age. So any of us, I don't think we expected. I remember I just got up and danced and sat on my best friend's knee, and that's what happened. You know what I mean? So when I won, I was 9 years of age. So I don't even know if I knew the gravity of it. Obviously it was amazing. Everyone was cheering. Everyone was great, and delighted, and everyone was happy. My teachers were delighted, but I don't know if I understood. It wasn't until years later, that I guess you could be kind of become more self-aware as you get older anyway. So yeah, interestingly, from like that first one, I don't know. I can't even remember. It's that long ago. I'm that old. But I think my last one, I know this is going to sound funny, but it was probably more relief than anything because as the years went on, I think the pressure built, I certainly don't think I enjoyed it. Just because there's a lot of expectation. You felt there was like a target on your back all the time. There'd be like the front rows of the teacher seats would be full to watch you dance. Yeah, it was a stressful enough situation. So
Question for you there, Con.
yeah.
Did you know when it was your last one?
Yes, no, I decided I did one senior men's and I was like, that's me, you know what I mean?
Right.
I think the record in Kogel was 13 and I went for that. I didn't want to
Very
go
good. Congratulations. Wonderful.
awful. But
Great
yeah, no, I
achievement.
knew I was done. Like that year, I actually broke my foot in the end of February and I just had to dance, unfortunately. For myself, like there was no pressure from anybody else. It was just I decided it has to be done. I can't stop. So I just had to keep going. I remember I hadn't even got my real shoes on me. I had to put them on the day of the Worlds. I hadn't danced with them on because the pain was that bad. Prior to that,
Wow.
my teachers hadn't even seen my reel. Like it was just I had to go up and had to dance. But
Well, that's the trials and tribulations of us as dancers,
yeah,
eh?
yeah, absolutely.
The pain of it.
Thankfully.
Who were your teachers? Just to give
My
them.
teachers, I danced at the Lee Brown Academy. It was originally actually back in when I started was the Lee School for Michelle Lee and then her sister Rachel Byrne. would have joined. I think she came back from tour river dance, and
Yeah, she did. She was along with me. No one loved Rachel very well. Rachel Byrne, fantastic dancer in her own right, actually. And Michelle, a phenomenal teacher,
yeah, they're
as the
super.
results are right
Yeah.
just in front of us.
Going back to kind of what Khan said, like when I wasn't as young as 9, but I won my first Worlds when I was 14. And I just remember at that time, like you kind of just do what your teachers say. Like you just show up to the competitions, you listen to your teachers. But I remember backstage, like right after I won, obviously I was super excited, but like again, didn't really know like the extent of it and how amazing it was. But I remember my teacher Gary like mentioning like you might not understand right now, but like in a few years, you'll want to relive this moment. So like capture every moment that you can while you're up there. So like even to this day, like I remember every moment of like walking on the stage, getting crowned, like holding the trophy for the first time. And I think like each time that I was able to do that, 2014, 2018, and 2022, it was like I just had that thought in my head, like, oh, you have to capture like every single moment of this because it's not like you could just go back tomorrow and walk on that stage and win again. So, yeah. And then 2022, I think was the most special for me because I like quit dance for a while and like COVID was right before that. So it was kind of like I found the love for dance again rather than like having the pressure of like, oh, you have to get up, you have to win, you have to do all this stuff. So it was more of like doing it for myself and like actually getting on the stage to dance for myself rather than like having to win.
And who were your teachers? You mentioned Gary,
Um,
the lovely
yeah,
Gary. We all love
Gary was like probably my first teacher like growing up. And then of course like my mom was my teacher and then my brother Johnny and then my aunt Peggy and my uncle Michael.
Very good. Thank you. And Patrick.
Could you just repeat the question for me
That's
one
really
more
what
time?
your journey to, I mean, it's interesting. We had a person that won every year and we have a person that won intermittently. So it's interesting to hear how you kept interested to win when you did in Belfast. You know, so I'm glad we have the three different perspectives in a
Yeah,
way.
definitely. Well, kind of like what Orla was saying for myself, with COVID and there being time away from competitions, and obviously that's the way that you kind of measure yourself in terms of progress, just to see yourself how you felt on a stage on a day, and then obviously wanting to win a competition as well. So for myself, just starting young, it was always just about family. Like you're gonna ask about teachers probably, and my first teacher would have been my grandmother, my nanny. So Bridget Grant, she would have had her class, and my dad Brian, he would have been teaching as well in the class. So starting as soon as you can and going up from there, you realize maybe there's bigger competitions than just the Fesh in Toronto or driving to go to Cleveland or something. You go to the next competition and the next competition, and you just, as a competitive person and somebody who spends a lot of time doing something, uh, Worlds was obviously the top of that. So I think staying interested was very easy just because there's so much love and so much family within Irish dancing. Um, but then obviously just had my eye on it always. There were older dancers in the classes that I went to that had won worlds, and you just admire them and their work ethic, and being the kid who wants to be like them in 5 years. So uh, it took a hard turn when there was no competitions and I was working towards it in COVID and such. So being away from it for some time, you give yourself a good look in the mirror and you realize really, if you wanted it or not. And thankfully, things turned out that the competition actually took place, in 2022. And the hard work then actually got to pay off. So I was very happy about the whole COVID not going another year, because with the rest of my life it might have just Conn's talked about his academics, my academics as well. They're kind of things that you focus on. And
You done with school now, Patrick?
I'm actually this is funny, Orla's going to be hearing this for the first time now. I just took a job offer in Chicago, so I'm going to be graduating in a few months and then working
Excellent.
in
Congratulations.
Chicago.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be done and dusted with my undergrad because
And what is the subject of your undergrad?
yeah, I'm studying mechanical engineering and management, so it was already a 5-year program. So I took the year in the middle after COVID to say, all right, this is my 1 year to just focus on dancing and try and do as much as I can, see where it can take me, and then went back to school after that.
Excellent.
I want to
Good
touch
man.
on that because you're all exceptionally high achieving academic people. What is it like to train at the level you train at to become um, fantastic world champion level dancers, but also highly academic, intelligent people? That's a balance you have to strike. And is it hard? Do you find, is it a time management thing, or how did you manage that?
Yeah, so I'm still in school, but like when I danced, I feel like it helped. Like I took my first year of college off from dance because it was too much. But like going back, it almost helped with my academics because like if I didn't get my stuff done, then I couldn't attend dance. And obviously the only thing I wanted to do was attend dance. So it kind of made me like more motivated to get my work done, to study, get all that done before I focused on dance for the rest of the day. So overall, I think dance helped with time management and like motivation to get my studies done.
Because there's a misconception out there with a lot of parents, isn't there? Oh, it's time to give up the dance now and get serious about your studies, which
Yeah.
empties so many schools at the age of 12, 13, certainly in Ireland. So
Mhm.
would you
Mhm.
say mistake? Should parents do an about face on that, or is it down to the individual that you're just very bright and talented and
I absolutely think it's a misconception. And I always say it to even some of the dancers I would teach now, when it comes to their junior cert in Ireland is kind of like the middle exam, and then you have your leaving cert, which is your final exam to get into college. And it's like gets to those years and like, oh, school takes priority. I was like, it's the best outlet you can have, and it's the best kind of distraction I think you can have because it just teaches such, many lessons in terms of, like we said, time management, and being like diligent and being able to kind of put things aside, get things done. And yeah, so I think it's definitely a misconception. I think we definitely should promote having the outlet for, from the studies because it gets too much. And otherwise, especially with the COVID years when people couldn't even go anywhere, like the effects on the mental health of the younger kids today, we're still seeing, you know what I mean, with social media, etc. So I definitely think having the outlet, 100%, I would never say, give it up or, tone it back or yeah, I think it's just super to give. I don't know, I think it gives an all round to the person as well, like not only education wise, but confidence wise and the ability to be able to get up on stage, it translates all across to schoolwork, because there's stress in all aspects, as we know, especially at that in those younger years in school. So, I mean, to have the outlet, I never think it's going to be a sacrifice. All ages, all abilities. I think it's yeah,
I
yeah,
agree with you there, Con. And you touched on something there. You mentioned mental health, and I think for all of us, it's an important topic. And I think that dance for a lot of people can be an outlet, and just like a way to deal with things that they would not be able to deal with necessarily in other ways. And it's just to put yourself in the studio, train, work, just do the thing repetitive, do whatever you need to do in the studio, just to remind yourself that things can be a lot better and things will be a lot better. But mental health issues are prevalent among dancers and of all of us. But I think it's an important thing to remember for parents out there.
100%, yeah. Like I when I retired from competition, I definitely struggled, because
Hmm.
there's that transition from like what I had to now what I have, so definitely, yeah, it's not to be overlooked.
Hmm.
All at all aspects and at all levels and whatever stage you are in your dance career, it can be stressful and
Indeed.
lonely. So definitely, I would always say talk, communicate, speak your feelings because otherwise it'll just get worse. So definitely I'm a big believer of communication.
So you're at this level, you're practicing 7 days a week, you're getting your studies done, and then you get to 21 or whatever it is, and you stop. So, Brian, Patrick, what's that like? When dancing stops, that all-consuming passion you have, obviously, to win a world. What do you have once it's done?
Yeah, it was almost like before I wanted to be done, the world told you you're done because just of how COVID had shut everything down. And at that point, that was a really tough time to try and get through for everybody for all different kinds of reasons. But just specific to the dance, I think seeing how I found different patterns through the day. I love being a creature of habit. That's kind of something that I'll get from my dad about just doing some of the same things all the time. And as long as you have good habits and you're making sure that you're trying to craft, if I do something every day, if you do that thing every day, it should be something that's constructive and builds for you. So it might have not just been one thing. It might have been so many different small things about maybe I give a phone call to somebody, or there's just little tiny things that you can find afterwards. And obviously there are bigger things like taking an extra course load at school, trying to find different jobs to get experience for things totally unrelated to dance. But I think what dancing teaches you, and I think it goes back to how the balance is important, is that if you can do everything in your 24 hours a day, and dance is say 4 hours a day, if you're really going full tilt 7 days a week, 4 hours a day, that sounds about right. Uh, if you can have those 4 hours a day and still be doing everything else, it shows uh, and it helps you build as a person, those skills for being productive and being well-rounded. So the kind of things you learn from dance, you can not exactly apply crossing your feet to an office job, but you find different ways to do the right things in whatever situation you're in. And if I'd ever be in an interview for a job or something, you can not exactly apply Irish dancing to say, why should I get this engineering job? But you can show them to say, if I can do this, I have determination. You can be that person who's, eager and excited and wants to do as much as they can, you know. So I think you can find anywhere to apply it. And, obviously everybody here has the obsession and the extreme interest with Irish dancing, but we all have other interests that we apply the same enthusiasm to as well.
I love that you point out the enthusiasm and the benefits of Irish dance. But I want to touch on something. Do you find whether it's the pressure to repeat, or I know Orla, you wrote a beautiful piece about going off to college and body dysmorphia and not training and what that looks like after training for so long. If you maybe want to touch on that, or if there was a pressure you felt outside of always having to be number one, and how did you deal with that? Because that's part of the mental health that we're trying to look at. Or maybe, or Con, if you want to hit on that one.
Yeah, I can go. I think like growing up, well, I was very lucky. I was able to get a sports psychologist for dance, so that it helped me tremendously like throughout my career. But I think like going into like the body dysmorphia and stuff that I talked about previously, like I think a lot of that came from like social media and like outside people's comments, like in class and like all my teachers and stuff, they're obviously want the best for you and like they can tell you that 100 times. They're just yelling at you to make you better. But I think the like outside noises is what gets to you when you're trying to win a competition. Like, oh, like you can't do this because your legs are too big or your legs look like a man. Like those are comments that like I previously heard when I was like 14 years old. Like those are comments that you'll live with for the rest of your life. And then I think like when I stopped competing in college, that took a major toll on my mental health just because like I went from training 2 times a day and also practicing dance 3 hours a day. Like you obviously are gonna have a body change and like your mental health is gonna go down because of that. But like, yeah, I think like all of it kind of just adds up. And then if you're not like getting the help you need for that, it just can go really downhill.
Thank you for your honesty. That's incredible. I'm assuming that we all understand that when we dance, us oldies back here, the pressures aren't the same as what you faced, especially with social media. So thank you for bringing that up because there probably are a lot of dancers now that are struggling. Con or Patrick, do you have anything to add to that? It might be different because you're men. I don't know. I can't speak to that, but do you want to add to anything like that?
I mean, I was fortunate. I'm a bit older, so like social media wasn't, especially in the beginning and in those kind of formative years where you like in your early teens where you might be a bit more susceptible to, people's negative energy. I didn't have that, fortunately. But I do see the power of it now with dancers. You know what I mean? Everything is just social media obsessed. Every video is watched thousands of times. Um, but it's pressure though too, because you see what's out there, and is there expectation from your teacher? Is there expectation from now? And I don't think any teacher ever puts that much pressure on their pupils, and I never had that, and I was really fortunate that the pressure came from myself, I think, because obviously I wanted to succeed and I had to. There was no option. You know what I mean? As I said, you weren't going not to win. That was the only thing. So I think that pressure came from myself. Like my mom didn't know anything about Irish dancing. So it was completely on me. My sister danced, and she was 4 years older than me. She struggled a lot in terms of the pressure. She would have won 5 All-Irelands back in the day, and I remember her probably 16 years of age, 17 years of age, crying. You know what I mean? Because it was tough. Because again, it's the expectation of others. And while we didn't have social media back then, it was still there. I know we all love the Voy forum, but like it was around back in my day too. And I remember, yeah, you wouldn't want to read it just in case because people are jealous. They want to take you down, and if there's a platform to do it, they will try. But I always think people forget that these are children. You know what I mean? And it baffles me still to this day. It's still happening from 10-year-olds to 9-year-olds from jealousy, and these are children. And I just think it's just a very dark place, that we've got to.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that, Con,
Yeah,
it is
sorry,
quite.
very negative.
Yeah, there are negative things out there. There's a lot of negative things about Irish dancing, but I think we, are given a choice. We really have to keep it
Look at the
positive
light.
and look for
Yeah,
the light. You know what I mean? And don't look for we know that we all know it's out there. But we just have to try and keep it positive.
embrace
And
it.
on that note, I'm going to switch out that conversation a wee bit, unless Patrick, you want to add to that there a wee bit.
No, I mean, I certainly agree with what everybody said. I didn't get, in my experience, not a very bad experience with anything on social media. And, nowadays it's like if you have a phone, you have a voice and you have an opinion, you can write anything you want, but it doesn't mean that it's true or has any value to it. So, uh, you know, as long as you're only using it in a positive way, the way that you can use it positively is, the only way I would have looked at it. Growing up as, like young kids, your body goes through extreme changes, and that in itself has enough of impact. But, I think for each person, you just need to find sources of positivity rather than negativity, which is often hard to do. But I'd be
It
happy
is
to move
indeed.
on from this.
Yeah, it is indeed quite difficult to do. And on that note, one thing that we could all remember to do is, someone very famous once said that what other people think of me is none of my business. And that's pretty much how I live my life at this point. I'm not trying to say you should do the same thing, but it may not be a bad way to go, you know?
I think
Um,
Orla touched on getting professional help, having sports psychologists. And I think a lot of parents, when one suggests it to them, because there is a lot of pressure on you, of course there is. And there is no shame in getting professional help to get you through that, in my opinion, as a teacher.
Absolutely agree.
You know,
Absolutely agree. Because we go through so much to do this thing that we love, and when the pressure gets too much, you need help. ask for help, and it's there. Remember
Yeah.
that. Like, I mean, there's always help there for our viewers watching. You know, if anybody's going through a difficult time, all you got to do is ask for help.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and
Yes.
you know, again, I did say that I was going to change it up a wee bit. The moments of joy in your career. Can you talk a wee bit about the one moment, or maybe there's a couple that you just think that is that moment there, I will never forget that, and it's given me joy and bliss, and part of the reason why we do this. Is there a moment there for you guys that you remember?
Who wants to go first?
You
Yeah,
said
I'll,
there, Cool.
I'll start off at least. I mean, one very sweet one, I think. There's a picture of it on the fridge, and it's I might be 7 years old, and I just got off the stage, and it was just a long day. And there's just a great picture of me giving a big hug to my mom, and
Love it.
just that like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how I did at the competition. It's just you get off the stage and give the loved ones your big hug, and that's what it is at the end of the day. Is we're proud of
Fantastic.
you.
And how about yourself, Con?
For me, I mean, I was fortunate at quite a young age when I was about 17. I got into river dance. So I think for me, that was probably the highlight in terms of not only competitive, but also like professional. I think every young dancer dreams of that, either river dance or the dance. I won't pick a side. So I think for me, my sister was also in it at the time. And I remember it was my first summer, I think it was 2014 or 2015. And we both danced at home in the Gaiety for my mom, and incredible. I
Fantastic.
still have pictures, and it was just magical. You know what I mean? It was like a full circle moment. Two of us in the same family, both on that stage in our home city. It was incredible.
That is like
Yeah.
amazing energy there, I'm sure. Now, I have a couple questions for you there. Same thing happened to me similarly. Riverdance happened to me when I was about 18.
Yeah.
Just came out of competition. What's your sister's name?
Her name's Grace. Grace Power, her name was. Yeah.
Grace
No
Power.
problem.
I think I might know your
Um,
sister anyway, but
do you? Yeah.
I think so. Anyway, that's fantastic. I love that. I love that. And what about yourself, Orla?
That's the most Irish exchange I've ever heard there. Sorry, but go
Oh, you
ahead.
know her. I know her. No.
You can cut it out.
I would say when I was growing up, I was like obsessed with being by my mom's side, like at every moment of the day. So I was very scared of going on stage, and I would like cry when I would go on stage because my mom couldn't be on stage with me. So I remember like my first Oireachtas, I had to be like 7, that I was able to get through all 3 rounds without crying and not needing my mom. So I think that was one of my favorite moments that I still remember to this day.
Love
I
that.
always tell the parents in my class, you won't remember the results, but you remember every day that when something went wrong or the memories you make with your mom or with your dad. And it's interesting that you all said the same thing, really, over and above winning the world, which is actually very poignant, I think, for what we do.
Indeed, I agree. I think it's lovely, and it goes back to the reason why we all do this is because we love to do it, and some of us are super successful, and you do that thing, and you got that thing, and you did that. Some of us are not, but you still have the love of it,
We make those.
and that's why we do it.
On the tail of that now, if we're asking, if you could look back and just give some advice to children now that are coming up, if you had to do it again, what would be something you would definitely make sure you did, or something you would for sure knock out and not do in your progress or your training up to being this level of a dancer? Is there anything that you were like, oh, that was terrible, never do it again, or yes, always do this? Because you are the stars, and people will be asking, what was the secret that made you that different shining star from the rest of us?
I mean, I think Orla said something earlier on about when you're young, you kind of just go along with what your parents do. Like, I'm not 8 years old driving myself to the dance studio. They're telling me it's Wednesday at 7 o'clock. We're going now, or it's you just kind of go along with it. And when you're young, obviously, by the guidance of your parents, that's how you happen onto a lot of things. Um, but there's a certain age for some people, whether it's being an early teenager or 10 years old, or whenever you decide to say, okay, really, this is what I'm deciding to do now. This is me making my own agency, my choices to say I want to go to dance class to do this for these reasons. And I think it becomes so much easier to do something when you know why you want to do it, or you know why you are doing it. So if you're growing up and you have that clicked in now to say you know why you're doing it, just remember that, and everything gets a lot easier from there.
I would say like have something outside of dance that you could take your mind off dance with. I think for a while, my whole life still revolves around dance, but like you have to have an outlet from dance to be able to put your all into it, because if you're constantly thinking about it, you're gonna second guess every single thing that you're doing. You're gonna overthink every single moment of your day, like what you're eating, what time you're waking up, how much are you doing, and like nothing will ever be enough. So I would say like have an outlet to all of it, something you enjoy outside of
But
dance.
for you, Orla, you were an age group that has to be the age group of the decade in a way, and I'm not trying to offend any other age group, but there was so many beautiful dancers in your age group. And to win that was really very special. It was London you won, wasn't it? If I remember
Yeah.
right. Oh, I remember
Mhm.
that. And there was so many good dancers that day. What was it like crossing the Atlantic the following year? Or where was the following year? Was the following year
It was in Montreal.
Montreal? So that did that make it easier for you not having to fly across the Atlantic? And how was it walking into the hall with the globe to hand the globe back and have to face all of those fabulous dancers once more?
Like, I don't really remember that much, but like I was in a documentary that year, so I think I had a lot of stress as well added on top of the worlds, having people follow me around with cameras. And I think that year I was really injured, and having the cameras around me, it was just a lot of stress. So I just remember being like, if you win or if you lose, you're still gonna go home to Chicago the next day and you're still gonna be alive. So I was just trying to make it through the day rather than like enjoying it. So
Or you said whether you win or lose. So is the idea that you get second considered a loss?
not in my head, no. Mm-mm. I think I think growing up, my mom, well, I was lucky because my brother also won worlds, but prior to winning, so I looked up to him, but he didn't like win a Ractus or win nationals or anything prior to that. So I think that almost helped me realize like, oh, it is extremely hard to win a competition. Like you won't just walk on the stage and win. So I think seeing him getting second at Oractus and being so excited, like really helped me know that like that is very awesome and that's something that you should be very grateful for.
It's important to kids know that you know anything that any result is a good result, right?
And
And
is the pressure to defend, like Con, you brought that up though, that pressure to defend, does it become all consuming?
For me, not again, while I was young, I don't think so. You know what I mean? I think it was probably 13 or 14. I nearly lost one of the years. I remember it was I came down to the last judge, and I remember that absolute fear. I think from that year on, it was just all consuming. Like when I used to be able to speak to anybody when I danced, like the morning of, I used to lock myself away, couldn't deal with anybody. I used to eat Jaffa cakes. If anyone knows what Jaffa cakes are, they're this amazing biscuit and Red Bull.
Love
And
them.
that was the only thing I could eat and drink. I didn't eat anything else for the entire competition day. Um, but definitely all consuming for me. Because I don't know, it was myself though all the time. It was like I conditioned myself to want, and there wasn't another option. You know what I mean? What would I be without it? I look back now and I'm like, it would have been fine. But in the moment and when you're in it, it's just yeah, it was completely all consuming. But again, all my own pressure. It never came from anybody. Maybe it was expectation that also drove it, but for me it was purely on my shoulders and also in my power, I think, I knew I was the one to control it. I knew I was the one who had, at the end of the day it was up to me. And it probably drove me more as well, as you said about training and stuff like that. You just had to, you know what I mean? You mightn't have wanted to, especially in the teenage years. Your mom says go dance, or Michelle, my dance teacher, she used to tell me. I actually at one point turned around to class and said, you try it. So I was very cheeky growing up. She'll appreciate hearing that one. But
I'm
yeah,
sure she did.
she still uses it.
did you have the same routine each of you every time? Like, was there a formula that you would follow each and every time?
Me, I was very OCD actually. Like I'd go to mass prior to competitions. I'd bless myself 3 times before I go on stage. I'd have to, oh, it was also a period within the next, like, so obviously the dancers on stage, I'd have to do it on their like last step on their left foot because I was like, it had to be done then. Otherwise I don't know, going to break my legs or something, touch wood. Yeah, I was very regimental. Even in like my morning routine, everything I did, it was clockwork. I touch wood. I had miraculous medals. I'd won like sewn into my trousers that I used to dance in. Yeah, I was very regimental in my procedure, I think. Yeah. Even the way I tie my shoes, and towards the end, I think I wore the same real shoes probably for 5 years. I just had to get them. I couldn't change them. I thought if I did, I don't know what would happen. So I had to keep getting them like redone. Because I actually couldn't physically wear any other shoes. So yeah.
Down to mothers, it'll be on Amazon looking for miraculous medals when this.
I still have loads.
What about you, Orla? What was your routine, or did you have?
Um, I was not as OCD as that, but I definitely did a few things the same pretty much every day. I mean, every competition. I would have to eat the same breakfast was with it was just a bagel and peanut butter. And if I didn't have that, then I would be scared I'd get sick. And then I would always bring a snack with me side stage. I don't know, some part of me was like, I'm gonna pass out if I don't eat a snack right before I went on stage. So I always ate a snack right before I went on stage. And then I like would only let my brother and when Gary was my teacher, talk to me on the day of competition. So
Trying to, sometimes you don't always have the same situation, like depending on where you're flying out to or where the competition is. Most of the time there's a hotel breakfast, so you try and eat some eggs and sausages and, just have a good breakfast. That's what, my grandparents would tell, fill up on some good food to start the day. Most important meal, because everybody knows throughout the day you look at the clock twice and then it's noon, and then you look at the clock 2 more times and it's 6 o'clock at night, and the time goes by quick, so you hardly find the time to eat and keep fueling through the day. But like Orla, snacking, love snacking through the day. uh, and warm-ups were important. So your teachers might be busy at a competition, whether it's getting warmed up by your teacher or somebody else. They're busy as well. So trying to be, self-sufficient with my own warm-ups, but also getting yourself really get a good sweat going before you get on stage. You only get to do it once, so don't say that you were cold. Or I look back on some competitions like, oh, I really should have warmed up better that day. And those are the ones that stick with you for, like, again, building good habits and just making sure that if you do something every time, it's helping you instead of going against you.
Do you think I mean, there's so very few of us that can say, yes, I'm the world champion of something, whatever it is, whatever sport you're in. Do you think with this great honor comes great responsibility, or have you felt that at all when you're still involved in dancing in some part?
I mean, I'm obviously a teacher now, so I don't know if I felt I just wanted to be a good role model all throughout, you know what I mean? Especially as I got older for the class, if there's younger boys, especially. And try and pass on what I learned, I think, as well as a teacher to some of my younger pupils, especially ones that would be kind of higher achievers or, or wanted or had won or, because it is really hard. And I think we are unique in that we understand that pressure, if especially if you've won, you will understand how the pressure feels. You will understand how you're coping with it, so definitely I think just to be a support system. And for me, it was always kind of like distant support because I know if anyone came near me when I was in that zone, I would be like bite their head off and just wanted them to go away. So, I mean, I was always kind of mindful well, it was kind of particular of the dancer as well. You can kind of judge what somebody needs, I think. But definitely just a role model. I always tried to do anything I could in terms of even within Kogel to try and kind of promote and to, yeah, kind of foster kind of, yeah, good
Excellent. That's excellent. Good man.
Is every year
Lovely.
too often? Is every year too often? Should the age groups be every second year or every 4 years or like sports?
What do you think? But sure, then Conn wouldn't be the 13-time world champion.
True. Oh, well, ours were actually double age groups as well. So it was, back in the day, it was, yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, that's harder.
Yeah, well, my upper age was harder, I found. Not
Hmm.
not disrespecting anybody that I danced under my age. But, in my age, I always thought I always worried about the upper age, you know what I mean? So every second year I would be more worried.
Yeah, I danced in similar because we danced in the same organization, and
Yeah,
it was always every second year as well. So winning it 2 years in a row was a kind of a big deal because you're kind of winning it in your own age, and then you're winning it out of your own
yeah,
age. And
yeah.
again, when I danced, it was the All Ireland, not the World Championship. Then after Riverdance, they changed the name. Thank you. But yeah, I'm very happy about that. That's what do you think, guys? Do you think it should be every second year for the world? Orla?
Like, are you asking if the age groups should be like combined?
Well, that's an option.
Or did you get a
First,
year off in between?
Hmm. Well, personally, I don't think the age groups should be combined because I think each age group is very competitive. Like the girls in my age group, the top 15 on any day could win the worlds, I think. They were
That's
all very good. So, yeah, that's all I gotta say.
but what
But you
about
do have a
alternating
year off.
years?
You're only given the opportunity every 2 years.
Um, I think it would cause more pressure. Like, because you only get the chance every 2 years. So, like, in your head, it's like, oh, I really have to put everything into this. And if something goes wrong, you're kind of done for the next 2 years or the year after.
Okay.
So that's the way I would look at it, I think.
Pat, you were saying because of COVID, that kind of left you. I knew I was going to go to school here. So you only had that little window, right? So if it was put off 2 years, you wouldn't have had that opportunity. Is that right? Oh, am I still on?
Is that for me?
Yeah, sorry, Patrick. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was the reason why I decided that year that I just wanted to focus more on dancing was partly because of how COVID was affecting the educational system. And I didn't appreciate the way that online classes were going just in general. So uh, I went along with it for the first year of doing fully online classes with some professors who were more prepared and some professors who were less prepared to teach online. And I felt that I wasn't learning as much. I was still doing the classes and getting the grades, but like doing another full year of maybe online school, maybe, you know, I didn't, I didn't, I didn't think fondly of that. And I guess I was pretty hopeful just for the fact that worlds or the competitions would happen that year. And I would have been totally fine with my decision to say, all right, this is my 1 year in worlds, didn't happen, or, all those competitions got canceled another calendar year round. I would have lived with that. I would have been happy with the way I got fit and danced the best I was ever dancing at that time. And I think just thankfully for myself, the competition did happen and I did get to that goal, So even though all this stuff still said Dublin on it because it was supposed to happen 2 years ago, it was, this competition's in Belfast and all the whatever says Dublin on it. That's, it
Well,
was.
you know what? This is congratulations anyway on getting that, achieving that amazing thing.
Absolutely.
And
I mean, there's
um,
no easy age group anymore.
Mhm.
Oh, that was the easy year. Every age group is packed full of talent, isn't it?
Mhm.
I sit and watch competitions as the judge, which is the best seat in the house, and I'm just blown away by the talent that walks on the stage these days when I do a major.
absolutely.
I'm very grateful to be there and to appreciate the work up close rather than just sitting in the front row, kind of distracted. There's something very special about somebody coming out when you're the center judge and they look you in the eye. How difficult is that when it's a Kilkenny races or Planksy Davis in 76 and you have to stand there and look at the judge? I mean, what goes through your head when you're doing that?
I mean, I once winked at a judge terribly.
You
Wait,
are
I walked on. I think they said in Coco we could dance slower. We could dance 73 and 72. So I think I did Kilkenny at like 73 or something ridiculous. And I remember like the judge was kind of like, I was just like, terrible, I know. But I didn't mind the wait, I don't think. I think you're so in the zone at that point that, I kind of always blanked out the audience as well. I didn't ever focus in on anybody, any of those kind of like mad dance moms or dance teachers would be jumping up and down. I just ignored them. So I think I was just in the zone, but I do remember once going out, I think it was like a Leinster's or something, and just winked at the judge or something. So yeah, I'll always remember that one.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's so much about like you're already in the zone once you walk on stage, and it's you just get to soak it in. There's that performance aspect of everything with that where it's showtime is what I've been taught, where it's like you're here now, they're watching you, so when it's showtime, just give them the goods because they're just waiting to see something that they want to see. So all that hard work and practice is don't think about the stress. You just think about they're here to watch me now, and no matter who it is, they're there to watch you as soon as you're on the stage. So just absolutely revel in that energy of being on stage, and just I love the set dance being all alone.
Yeah.
What about you, Orla?
Um,
Your head.
I never really took notice of the judges when I walked on stage. So I always just told myself that this could be the last time I'm on the stage, so enjoy every moment of it.
Absolutely. That's important because you never know.
That's so true. Very sensible. So, did you have role models? Who was the dancer? Was there one dancer that you could pick that you looked up to growing up? I want to be that person.
I can go.
Yeah.
Well, there's two people I looked up to a lot. My brother, obviously, because he lived with me and was always around me, but I looked up to Nadine Martin like a lot. She, the reason I looked up to her a lot was probably because she like was so close to winning a lot of worlds. And then when she won her first worlds, I don't know what year it was exactly, but I just like felt some like wow, like you really can have so many years of like working so hard and like not getting to the point, but like your day will come. So I don't know, like I was obsessed with watching her, obsessed with her like journey, and I have a picture with her from my very first worlds that I took with her.
She's a fabulous person, isn't she? And dancer, obviously.
He was a fabulous dancer. Absolutely. I remember
Mm.
judging her. Yeah.
What about you, Con?
I think my sister definitely. She was 4 years older than me, and I think she was Michelle's first ever All-Ireland champion as well back in 2002. I think it was in Ennis, in that lovely West County, if anyone remembers it. But yeah, I think definitely my sister. And then anybody else? I'm trying to think. I remember. I don't know if anyone would know her. Christina Havlin, her name was is. She was one of the probably still to this day one of the best dancers. So yeah, definitely seeing her on stage, I remember she was incredible. So yeah.
Very good. Patrick?
I'm gonna go with two. There was obviously growing up, I was always under Michaela Hines. She had shown everybody younger or older in the class that you can always work harder because she was showing you right there. She was working harder. Just Michaela was a very determined person always, and having her in class being an 8-year old, and she would have been older, and I'm just thinking like looking up at her like I'm gonna dance better than you for these 16 bars we're practicing here, and there was no shot, but it was just that like I can be that good, and she would have fostered that kind of from everybody. But another one that I when you think about dancing in terms of the training and everything, and then being on stage, Jason O'Neill always he on stage, that just showmanship kind of his footwork and everything is just he's my favorite dancer, I think.
And we usually ask this as a closing thing. If you could give me one or two words that tell me or tell us what Irish dance means to you.
So the easiest one word answer is family, and not just a cop out answer dancer because I was taught dance by my family, but every person, every experience, every memory, that is what family is. And you said passion, like that's, if you're not passionate about what your family is, and uh, that's just what it truly is to me. So dance is family.
For me, I think maybe community, just because it's such a vast, sea of people that I've come across during my career anyway, from all corners of the globe, either co-goal or commission, I have great friends in both. So definitely like, and it's such a wonderful, positive community. All people, with all in the same environment, all with the same goal, and all with the same love. So yeah, for me, it's definitely the community.
I was gonna say community, but I'll say friendship because there are so many people that I would have not met if it wasn't for dance. And I think my closest friends or like people around me are from dance.
Beautiful. I love that. And, I'm lucky enough to have very close friends in dance as well, as we all are. And, hold them tight because you never know when you might lose one.
So I just want to thank you very much on behalf of our little Cora team. I just want you to know, I know you were talking about all the people that you look up to. What a joy is it that you are such lovely, high achieving, generous people to spend your time with us and allow other people to look up to you. So we want to wish you all the best in your new jobs and continued studies. And we think the world of you. So thank you very much for giving us your time. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Kim, Michael, Glenn. Obviously, you guys are doing such a great job, and thank you so much for letting us be a part of the chat today.
Well, thank you, Patrick. We do our best, and yes, you guys did amazing today.
My favorite one by far, I have to say. No offense to the you've had on.
Youngins.
It's been my favorite.
Alex, are we off?